Section 43 of A Guidebook of Art, Architecture, and Historic Interests in Pennsylvania, edited by Margaretta Archambault. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Tatiana Chichilla. Cambria County. Formed March 26, 1804, named by early Welsh settlers for the Cambria Hills in Wales, has been called the Switzerland of America. Here are many places of historic and scenic interest. The old Kittanning Trail crossed the country in the north through Asheville, where there is an Indian burial ground. Near Carrollton is Hart's sleeping place. He was a signer of the Declaration of Independence. The British made special exertion to take him a prisoner, so he wandered through the woods, sleeping in caves, being constantly hunted by the enemy. South is Loretto, a quaint old mountain town with one street, and an almost entirely Roman Catholic community, founded by Prince Demetrius Gallitzin, who brought a colony of settlers in the Allegheny Mountains about 1796, and labored as a missionary in this district for 40 years. He died in 1840. The church he built here has been rebuilt in a costly manner by Charles Schwab in honor of his birthplace. St. Francis College has the tomb and monument of Prince Gallitzin in grounds. Southeast is Gallitzin at western end of a tunnel 2/3 of a mile long on the Pennsylvania Railroad, 2,160 feet above sea. A bronze statue of the prince is here. Prince Gallitzin Spring, with a monument nearby, is along the state highway near Summit on top of the Alleghenies. Beyond is Crescent, a noted and beautiful summer resort. Here is Mount Aloysius Academy and the State Tuberculosis Sanatorium, No. 2. Ebensburg, county seat, laid out in 1805. Population 2,179. Is also a summer resort. Through the woods and around the lakes of this region the rhododendrons grow as tall as trees and are gorgeous in their bloom. Descending along the upper waters of the Conemaugh, numerous vestiges are seen of the old Portage Railroad, a series of inclined planes, connecting the State Canal at Hollidaysburg east and Johnstown on the west. Dickens wrote of the scenery along the canal. Sometimes the way wound through some lonely gorge like a mountain pass in Scotland. Many dams, which are really lakes, have been built by manufacturers. The largest is 3½ miles long, surrounded by wooded hills with here and there a waterfall. Johnstown, population 67,327, at confluence of the Conemaugh River and Stony Creek, was founded in 1800 by a Swiss Mennonite, Joseph Schantz, Johns. A glance at the deep, narrow valleys, with their high enclosing walls, goes far to explain the possibility of so tremendous a catastrophe as that which overwhelmed Johnstown on May 31, 1889. Conemaugh Lake, 2½ miles long, 1½ miles wide, was reserved as a fishing ground by a club of Pittsburgh engineers. Its waters were restrained by a dam 1,000 feet long, built by the state as a reservoir to store water for the state canal during the dry seasons. A continuance of violent rains filled the lake to overflowing. The break occurred at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a gap of 300 feet being formed at once. The water that burst through swept down the valley in a mass 1/2 mile wide, 40 feet high, carrying everything in its way, completely destroying Johnstown and other towns and villages in its track, going 18 miles in 7 minutes, the distance between Johnstown and the lake. The mass of houses, trees, machinery, railway iron, and human bodies was checked by the railway bridge below Johnstown, which soon caught fire, probably burning to death hundreds of persons imprisoned in the wreckage. About 2,205 lives were lost. In the Grandview Cemetery, a large space is dedicated to the unidentified dead, with a westerly granite monument, having heroic-sized statues of faith, hope, and charity. Sculptor F. Barnicoat, Quincy, Massachusetts. There are 778 individual markers for the bodies, largely unidentified, laid out geometrically, so that from whatever angle the plot is seen they are in curved rows. Johnstown was an important shipping station on the canal connecting Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. An interesting feature now remaining is the canal tunnel at the bend of the Conemaugh, 4 miles east of Johnstown, second such tunnel built in America, constructed by the state about 1828 or 1830. The first is in Lebanon County, made in 1827. The Carnegie Library received by bequest from James M. Swank, historian and iron and steel statistician, his books and historical relics. Franklin Street Methodist Episcopal Church, Gothic, gray sandstone. The sills under the windows of the auditorium are dressed stones from the abandoned Pennsylvania canal locks, near site of the present Pennsylvania Railroad Station. Architect George Fritz. First Presbyterian Church at the corner of Walnut and Lincoln Streets, dedicated 1913. Modified English Gothic, Cleveland gray sandstone and green tile. Architects Badgley and Nicholas, Cleveland. The Cambria Steel Company began in 1840 when George S. King and David Stewart discovered a vein of iron ore about 15 inches thick on the Laurel Run, west of Johnstown. They built the first blast furnace in Cambria County in 1842, calling it the Cambria Furnace. In 1843, Dr. Peter Schoenberger brought out David Stewart's interest. He was the great iron master of his time, conducting a chain of furnaces, forges, and rolling mills, stretching almost 500 miles, from the old Marietta Furnace in Lancaster to the Wheeling, West Virginia Iron Works. The Cambria Iron Works were completed in 1853 and sold to a syndicate of Philadelphians, who selected Matthew Newkirk as president. In 1854, they rolled the first iron rails. The first steel rails in America were rolled here in 1867 from looms imported from England. Iron is the county's chief industry. End of section 43.